a difficult book to read in many ways, book to write in many ways.
It was, because for years, when I retired from Buckingham Palace in 2000, I was asked, am I going to write a book, am I going to write a book? And the answer was no. And I didn't feel, and I still don't feel, that I actually have a royal book in me. So what I've done, it's actually an autobiography, so it's me from the moment I popped out in 1940 up to the present day, with my experience, obviously, at Buckingham Palace over those 12 years.
And you were press secretary over a monumental time for the royal family. I mean, it saw all sorts of change, didn't it?
Well, it was pretty tough. Yes, the marriage of the late Princess of Wales and Prince of Wales was crumbling. There were all sorts of other things happening, and we sort of cast our minds back to 1992, as the Queen described it, as her annus horribilis, when anything that could go wrong did go wrong, culminating, I suppose, in the separation of Charles and Diana, but prior to that, the fire at Windsor Castle.
That was such a telling moment and a wonderful expression from the Queen when she used that phrase, annus horribilis. Were you involved in the writing of that speech? Was that a phrase that you...
Not at all. The actual sort of annus horribilis came from one of her former private secretaries, who is an absolute gentleman, a terrific man, Henry Ford. But it just encapsulated what that whole year was all about, because it started with India at the beginning of the year and finished with the separation. The year actually ended in a high note, which people tend to forget, with the Princess Royal marrying Timothy Lawrence.
I mean, you know, this book contains all sorts of details about, you know, you meeting the Queen. I know it was a difficult time for you managing throughout Diana's funeral as well, because obviously you were having to cope with a difficult personal time as well as having to do your job then, weren't you?
Well, it was pretty tough at the time of the funeral. It was obviously, car crashes are unexpected, and deaths as a result of car crashes are absolutely tragic. But that one was under the sort of media microscope. Everybody was watching. And it was a very hostile time in terms of the media. By the middle of the week, they were sort of getting frustrated because the Queen wasn't down in London, nor should she have been. She was absolutely right in staying at Balmoral, sort of looking after both William and Harry, because it was as a result of that, staying up there, that William and Harry were able to do what they did at the end of the week. But it was a hostile time. There was a hostile media. They were whipping up fury that the Queen wasn't down, that by the time she did get down, there was a fair amount of sort of, well, will it be OK or won't it? And it just so happened it was.
Dickie, of course, one of the most important things about a private secretary to the royal family is their confidence and the fact that the family have complete trust in you. There's a fair bit of criticism that's come about the fact that you've written a book at all. As you pointed out, it's an autobiography of your life, but you are clearly sharing some intimate moments with the royal family. We understand, we've read reports that Prince Charles is furious that you've done this book, and also in the past you've been quite critical of other people that have done books like this, Paul Burrell, for example. What's your response to people that say these?
Well, my response to that is, firstly, it's a personal reflection. It's not a royal book. It just happened to have royal aspect to it, which was part of my life. Prince Charles furious? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I mean, it was a screaming headline from one of the red tops on a Sunday. How do they know?
Have you spoken to him? Has he said anything to you?
I haven't spoken to him, but Buckingham Palace did see the manuscript. The book is published, end of.